Hey everyone, Reuben here, and today I'm playing a text-based game called A Courier's Tale. Text-based games are something that I've been interested in for a while, and so I figured I'd try one, see what it's like. Now let's read the description. It's the near future. You are a bike messenger in a city that's half flooded, but still managing to stay afloat despite economic collapse. It's your first week at Packet, the best courier company in the city. You think maybe if you play your cards right, you'll get to meet the legend that is Sorcha Blades. And then, fate deals you the very hand you've been hoping for. Are you game enough? Well, let's find out. You slip through a gap in the queuing traffic, just wider than your handlebars, and join the flow of traffic heading west. It's more of an ooze than a flow, but you make quick progress, weaving your bike through the cars and vans that clog the streets. The roads are still slick from the overnight rain. They smell a little of sulfur, and the product of another cloud of pollution dripping over the flooded city. You take the next right, dancing across the junction as drivers jostle for position, and then cut down a narrow alleyway that will bring you out on Parker Street. You see Packet up ahead, the best cycle courier company in the city. Their riders are the fastest, the bravest, and the most hated by taxi drivers in force, and the most used by corporation and ministries alike. And now you are one of them. Years pounding the pedals for fourth and fifth rate outfits have been rewarded with a berth package. You are still new, still getting the kids' runs, fool's errands, but today you feel lucky. What are you grinning at? Yum shouts from his booth. It's a miracle he can manage to squeeze his gargantuan form in there, never mind his industrial-sized lunchbox. He doesn't wait for a reply. You are new. You are not expected to speak. No jobs right now. Sit and wait with the others. He returns to wheezing into his tiny dispatcher's headset. There are no others, so you lean your bike up against the rough, whitewashed breeze block walls and sit on a rickety bench. Time passes. It's boring. You fish around in your bag and find something to eat and a bottle of safe drinking water. Will you have a snack or sit coiled, ready to spring into action? I think it's probably better just to wait. A bike rolls in through the door and seems to hang in the air for a moment before a woman follows it in and catches its saddle. The bike is lean and tough, and so is the woman. She has dark hair that falls over her forehead, into her eyes, and her scruffy clothes. Cropped jeans and a few thin layers of t-shirts and jacket are dirty from many run-outs, and run-ins. This is Sorcha Blades, the best of the best. Yum opens his mouth to say something and thinks better of it. I need a messenger, she says. I've got a double rush account job with 2 decoys, rolling address updates, and only 1 casino to ride with. Security? Yum asks. Roach is on it, she says, tapping her saddle with an impatient finger. Ain't got an available messenger, Yum says. His mouth is full of hot dog, his chin smeared with ketchup. Not for an hour. What's this then? She points at you. New, Yum says. Doesn't matter, Sorcha says. It's Imagination Industries. We can't miss the time slot. You there, Yum struggles to his feet. You up for this? Tough job, too hard for you. You can say no. I've got a little local lollipop runs coming in for you. He rubs his greasy fingers against his thumb. He has an evil glint in his eye. Lots of credit. Sorcha snorts at Yum but smiles at you. It's up to you, she says. Credit or glory? Well, of course I'm going for glory. Otherwise the story just probably ends. Glory, you say? You sound like the hero in an action film. You like it. Sorcha grins as Yum slumps in his seat, defeated. The seat groans, also defeated. Good choice, Sorcha says. Let's go. You swagger out of the office behind her. The street is quieter than before, but in a quarter of an hour, the rush hour will start again, and it will be carnage out there. She just picked you to annoy me, Yum shouts from his booth. Don't get all cocky. Sorcha gets on her bike. I picked you because you were sitting there, she says. Nothing to get cocky about. You get onto your bike like a baby giraffe taking its first steps. Since when did you have 3 knees? Not yet, anyway. She slips into the light traffic. It seems like she's barely pedaling, but she's fast. You almost have to go all out to keep up, but you manage to pull alongside her. Do you want to come up to Park and Arc to meet Casino, or head out to circus and get a head start, she says. Okay, so I have no idea what to do here. I think I'm gonna take a page from Harvey Dent's book. See if I can just flip a coin. If I can find one. Here we go. Okay, so head is to meet casinos. Tails is to get the head start. I failed horribly. But it's heads, so let's meet Casino. Casino Flamingo, second only in the Packet Hall of Fame to Sorcha herself. You are not about to put off hanging out with both of them any longer. I'll come up to Park and Arc, you say. I got a bit stiff sitting around at the office. It'll be good to loosen up with a sprint. Sorcha laughs. Try to keep up. She shouts over her shoulder as she sets off with blistering acceleration. You wonder if maybe her bicycle has an engine. You only slip back 5 or 6 bike lengths as you cycle up the road, but she looks like she's taking it easy for you. Up ahead, you see the traffic lights turn amber, and Sorcha puts a burst in to get over them, then checks herself and slows. She's taking it easy for you. Do you pedal like a maniac for the lights, or hang back and play it safe? I think I can probably make it. You stand on the pedals and start to spin them as fast as you can, aiming for a gap between a yellow van and a taxi as the lights turn red. Sorcha shouts something as you sail past her, but you can't make it out. The traffic is heading right for you. As most drivers jump their green light, you slam into the back of a taxi. Crud. And as you somersault over it, you see Sorcha track standing at the lights, her arms outstretched, wondering what you were thinking. You smash headfirst onto the road, and if that didn't kill you, then the taxi running over your body did. If it's any consolation, Sorcha and Casino come to your funeral and bring the rest of the gang. Well, shoot, let's try that again. This game, interactive fiction, or whatever you would like to call it, is inspired by The Vanguard, the first part of the Vanguard trilogy, a science fiction, fantasy, action, adventure trilogy that I wrote. You can find out more about it and download a free copy of the first book here. Our narrator is Sorcha Blades. When we first meet her, she's a bike courier living in an extravagant squat with her 4 best friends, her family, ducking and diving to stay 1 step, or maybe 2 ahead of the authorities. The city they live in is caught between an environmental nightmare and an economic collapse. It's a sclerotic dystopia, unable to function even enough to collapse. Then stuff happens. A lot of stuff. The Vanguard's adventures involve superpowers, time travel, celestial beings, cities of machines, crashed spaceships, crime syndicates, and celebrity. And that's without the spoilers. I hope you enjoyed the game. It's the first one I've written, so any feedback will be gratefully received, either through the usual IF channels, or by emailing hello@squintarium.com. There might be more interactive fiction on the way. There's 2 more books after all. S.J. London, July 2014. Well, that's great, but I need to restart this game. Okay, so this time let's play it safe and see if I can live. You look ahead to lights and see that the drivers waiting at the junction are already starting to creep ahead in anticipation of the light going green. She's taking it easy for the conditions, not for you. Jump these lights and you'd end up smeared across the junction. You balance on your pedals next to Sorcha at the head of the queue, wobbling. She's not wobbling, not even a little bit. You wonder if she is even a little bit normal. The taxi behind you is revving its engine. You can hear the abuse he's shouting at you even though all the doors and windows are closed. He says, going to kill you. When you look around, his face is at the point of explosion. It's so red and sweaty. Better get ready, take the best route, Sorcha says. He's taken out 6 messengers already this week. They're having some kind of competition. What about you, you say? I can outrun him, she says. You know she's right. The lights are still red. You can just see the lights for the junction to your right. They are still green. You wait. They turn amber. And you are off into the tail of the traffic crossing your path. Do you take the quickest route into the gap or arc around behind the last cars? Well, let's see, I've already gotten hit once, so quickest route might not be the best way to go. On the other hand, there's a taxi driver who is insane and wants to kill me. I think it's probably not the best decision, but I'm gonna chance it again. Well, that was the wrong decision. Okay, so I'm starting to notice the pattern here. Thinking taking chances in this world of death and danger is probably not the best way to go. So, let's see what happens. You stand on the pedals and start to spin them as fast as you can, heading for the back of the line cars as they flow across your path. Sorcha is right behind you as the murderous taxi driver starts to honk his horn in fury. This prompts an impromptu rendition of one of the more obscure car horn symphonies, the cacophony filling the air as you ride out of trouble. Nice, Sorcha says. Very nice. Park and Ark is just ahead. It's unnerving having Sorcha behind you, so you're glad when she rolls up beside you. What time do you call this? Another courier joins you. He peers round Sorcha at you. His beard is as well groomed as a Riverdale Chihuahua in a designer handbag. You're supposed to be at the junction, Sorcha says. What time do you call it? I do love it when I get to work with you, Casino says. The camaraderie, the teamwork, it's so special. Pull over here, Sorcha says. We're on the clock here. You all dismount in an old bus stop. The shelter, stripped for metal long ago, is remembered by a rectangle of brown concrete and the gray sheet as a melted mass of yellow plastic seat. You're the new messenger then, Casino says to you. Yum is livid. He's not been able to do his usual spirit-breaking introduction program. He's complaining bitterly about Sorcha to anyone who has a radio. Bitterly. You wouldn't know she's his absolute favorite. Sorcha laughs and introduces you. And this is for you, my little gooseberry. Casino holds out 2 key cards. Do you take the red one or the blue one? Well, this seems like a Matrix reference. Red pill, blue pill. So I'm gonna go red pill. You take the card from Casino and he gives the other one to Sorcha. It has the Imagination Industries logo on it. They are one of the only corporations to survive the economic collapse that followed the flood. This has made them as paranoid as they are powerful. Swap this for the package, Casino says. He's a little taller than Sorcha, but not much. His clothes look cleaner, though, and as you look closer, you can see how stylish they are, how they fit him to perfection. You remember someone saying that he could be almost as good as Sorcha if he wasn't so worried about messing up his outfits. Their office is in the old Sloan Theater, Sorcha says. You know where that is? Yes, you say, because you do. It's out of the ancient King's Road. Go up by the coach station, Casino says. It'll be quicker. You can go through the park or round it. Not at this time, Sorcha says. The Northern Point sleeper leaves in 10 minutes. It'll be chaos around there. No, it won't, Casino says. Take the Ministry's route, Sorcha says to you. It's a little more scenic, but you'll get there faster at this time of day. Casino looks as though this is the most ridiculous thing he's ever heard in his entire life. His expression is so exaggerated that an old lady asks him if he's alright. He clutches her in mock desperation before pulling himself together with a range of theatrical flourishes. Sorcha rolls her eyes. Honestly, take the Ministries. Do you go Sorcha's way or Casino's way? Sorcha is the best, so I'll go with that. Also, she's suggesting what seems to be a safer route, so I'll take the scenic route, you say. You're not sure what the Northern Point sleeper is, but Sorcha's word is good enough for you. Casino groans. There goes our bonus. He's smiling, though. I'm off the Ministry, so you've got Roach, Sorcha. Right on cue, Sorcha says as an enormous man on a tiny moped pulls up. What have you done to Yum? The man says to Sorcha as he flips up his visor. He's 10 types of mad at you. You like Roach right away. He must have a lovely aura. And then he spots you and frowns, and you break out in the cold sweat of dire terror. Casino introduces you, and he smiles again. First week, and you're playing with the big kids already, Roach says. I was at a loose end, you say. Roach grins at Sorcha. That explains Yum's grump. Let's go, Sorcha says. Casino's worried about his bonus. Sorcha rides off back the way you came, nipping across the traffic with Roach puttering behind her, his overburdened moped whining. Casino is still getting on his bike as you go flying up the road. You'll get Casino his bonus. You're heading west across the flow of traffic. Do you follow Sorcha across the traffic or go up the roundabout? Well, one thing that I know about crossing the street is that it's not follow the leader, because things can change so quickly that you might not be able to handle whatever's happening. And considering that this is normal traffic times infinity when it comes to danger, I'm going to say play it safe this time, because I've died twice already. You slot in behind a long black car like a stunted limousine. You hang onto one of the ridiculous fins that stick up on either side of its rear. They don't like this very much, if the deliberate attempt to shake you off by swerving about is anything to go by. You cling on as you go around the roundabout at speed. You slingshot off the car to catch the rail on the back door of a truck that's in the right lane to go the way you're going. At the last minute, the truck doesn't turn off as you expect and leads off toward death row, but you manage to let go and use the momentum to get across before a taxi driver sees you and attempts to mow you down. The dang taxi drivers, what is their problem? You don't remember why couriers and taxis hate each other, but given how much you hate them, you don't care. You're heading to the ministry's district, though. There are no taxis there. They all have chauffeurs. Will you take Servants Row or hang on for Scrubber's Lane just up ahead? Well, this seems like another coin flip. So heads is Servants Row, and tails is Scrubber's Lane. Tails, Scrubber's Lane. Scrubber's Lane is so called because, well, people who had lax morals and personal hygiene used to ply their various trades there, and they still do. Its proximity to the ministries proving plenty of rich clientele with rather esoteric tastes. A man is standing by the side of the road, twirling a single red rose from a battered bouquet, while on the other side, a woman with an embarrassed-looking cat on a leash is doing something esoteric and not at all tasteful to a man who looks very much like the underminister of academies. A car pulls up on the other side of the road, and although it looks nothing like a clown car, 17 men and women somehow get out. They are all dressed in red tutus and leotards. A door opens nearby, and they all disappear inside. You can't make anything out in the black depths as you cycle past. It's probably for the best. If you're feeling brave, you could turn down the shortcut by the Ministry of Security or carry on past the Ministry of Administration. All these ministries. Let's see. Again, after 2 deaths, I don't feel particularly brave, but at the same time, I'm on a schedule here. Heads and tails. Heads is the Ministry of Security, tails is the Ministry of Administration. Heads. Looks like we're taking the shortcut. The street looked deserted when you started down it, but all of a sudden, there was a sound like a blade slicing through the dry grass, and the pavements are full of burly people. They're wearing black uniforms with Enforce logos on their breast pockets and large machine guns in their hands. They all stand motionless as you slow down, terror making it hard to pedal. Then one officer raises his or her arm and points to the large banner hanging across the 4th story on the ornate pillared building. The emblem reads Ministry of Security. Silly you, what were you thinking coming this way? Before anyone has a chance to shoot you, you pedal with great haste down the first available exit. It leads to the Ministry of Culture and Endeavor. It's really a bit of a maze around here. You realize that Packet must deliver around here a lot, and so Sorcha knows this place inside out. Literally. Still, the Ministry of Culture and Endeavor is a sight to behold, as the ministry responsible for every element of culture in the city as well as every endeavor not covered by the other ministries, and all things they don't want to do. The culture of and endeavor folk don't have time to do much else but work. As a result, the building is leaning over to one side, and many of the windows are covered with old towels and bed sheets. This is because the Great Window Smashing Festival that took place a couple of years ago. In actual fact, it was a protest about the Ministry of Work and Labor dropping the minimum wage so low that people had to pay to go to work. Given that it's illegal not to have a job, this did not go down well. The protesters got the wrong ministry building, though, so the whole thing was repackaged as a festival celebrating something that happened so long ago everyone had forgotten about it. Something that actually they made up. As you ride by, there is a strange sound, like a group of flower pots tap dancing and a chimney smashing into the ground in front of you. You swerve to dodge it, finding yourself somehow faced with the choice of the Ministry of Environs and Conurbations, or the Ministry of Work and Labor. You wonder if you might be lost just a little bit. Okay, I'm gonna go with work and labor, because I'm on the job. The Ministry of Work and Labor is closed as it is not their monthly 2-hour window of operations. There is someone in there, though. You can hear the unmistakable sound of an elegant cocktail party through an open window. Tempted as you are to make your disgust apparent, you cycle on. After all, if it weren't for these people, you wouldn't have a job, and therefore no citizen card, and so wouldn't be entitled to any of the life's little luxuries, like food, water, or shelter. Bless them every one. You carry on down the wide gray street between the wide gray buildings. Will you go toward the Ministry of Environment and Conurbations, still never going to get that word, or the Ministry of Administration? I'm going to go back with administration. Sure. The ministry's area is a winding mass of broad streets with huge gray buildings rising up 4 or 5 floors. It took a lot of money to build once upon a time. The administrators are housed in a very dull building with no embellishments whatsoever on its facade. You delivered a package there once and know that inside it's the very essence of Baroque and Rococo excess. There's also a lot of paper. If anyone ever sets fire to it, it'll be an inferno in seconds. You wonder why no one has ever tried to burn it down. The Ministry of Administration is the very heartbeat of the city. Without them, everything would probably function quite well. No mysterious taxes, no bribery or corruption, no overzealous enforce arresting people for breathing in a labored and wheezy manner. The normal folk would get a break, and somewhere to live. Perhaps it's not a coincidence that their building backs on the Ministry of Security. The richest families register their firstborn sons for jobs at the Ministry of Administration, because it was a guaranteed life of ease and privilege. You were not born with a silver spoon in your mouth, and if you were, your parents would have whisked it away and sold it for food before you'd even taken your first breath. The road forks up ahead. One way will take you past the Ministry of Environs and Conurbations, and the other will afford you a view of the Ministry of Culture and Endeavor. Well, I already went by Culture and Endeavor, so I guess this place is just trying to force me to Environs and Conurbations. There was a large purple pool of liquid seeping out from under the large front door of the Ministry building. It is, you are relieved to note, odorless. You have to mount the pavement to avoid it, but there is a marked lack of pedestrians around here. The large hazard signs pointing every 10 meters or so along both pavements might explain that. The Ministry are always engaging crazed scientists to solve the various environmental disasters plaguing the city. Half the city being underwater is a major issue. The disastrous weather experiments out west which create the toxic rain, another. But there's a long list of critical problems on file inside the Ministry. The list of solutions is much shorter, though. A strange cry echoes around the elegant streets, half scream, half lament. You look up and see the fabled MX-547 T-Bird sitting on top of a lamp post. Ajax, as he is called by unwashed masses, is another experiment. A mournful soul, he glides around the street nearby the Ministry on his broad Courier, I have no idea what that word is, feather wings, having strange, chubby human hands that grow out of their ends. What he was the solution to, it's hard to say. Now, is it the Ministry of Security or Cheap Street? You can't quite remember. Well, I went to the Ministry of Security before and was almost murdered, so let's go to Cheap Street. Ajax swoops down to either land on you or eat you, so you nip under the high stone archway that leads to Cheap Street. There is an enforcer car parked up ahead making a routine check on the wealthy inhabitants of Cheap Street, or rather, a routine check on their assets. They are casing the joint. They must be making a thorough job of it because the 2 officers inside don't notice you cycling past, and you are allowed to proceed unmolested by the long arm of the law. You ride down the quiet street, which winds its way all the way down to the square at the top of Ancient King's Road and the theater. Okay, we're finally here. The theater has seen better days. The name of the last play staged there, decades ago, is still hanging up in the lights. The only working bulbs displaying an obscenity. It seems appropriate. One of the front doors is hanging off its hinges, so you squeeze in with your bike, which you chain to a narrow pillar inside. You can hear a bass reverberating, Someone is playing music upstairs. Like many of the building that have lay wasting away since the flood and the subsequent collapse, the theater has been taken over by various groups of people trying to make their way during these interesting times. You could be confronted by a criminal gang or a knitting circle, or both. There could be a guerrilla training center in there, or a peaceable community who just want to get out of the rain. It seems unlikely, though, unless they listen to thrash metal. The doors to the auditorium have been tagged with the Imagination Industries logo, so you take a deep breath and you go through. For a moment, you think you have taken a wrong turn and ended up in some primordial swamp. The whole auditorium is wreathed in vines and other untamed greenery. It's hot and humid, and you can hear the hiss of water spray that is keeping the air moist. Someone has pitched a large tent on the stage. You can hear a heated debate going on inside. Spotting the Imagination Industries logo, you are disappointed to see that you are going to have to cross the stage to get your pickup. You can tiptoe, slow and steady, hoping that whoever is in the tent is too embroiled in their discussion to notice you, or you can run and disappear backstage before they even realize what is happening. I'm gonna go with the old tortoise moral and say slow and steady will win this race. There is no escapes. Your tactics have failed. 6 people, all dressed in combat gear, they've even gone for face paint, emerge from the tent. You took your time, a man says. He only has one eye. You wish someone would buy him an eye patch to cover a gaping hole next to it. We've been waiting, another man says. He has 2 eyes. Okay. I mean, usually if someone is not mentioned as having more or less than 2 eyes, I'm going to assume they have 2 eyes. But, yeah, whatever. Information, nice to have. There is a long pause as they stare at you. It's your turn to speak. Waiting for me, you say? Don't play dumb, the one-eyed man says. We've seen you watching us. Me, you say, hoping this cause of mistaken identity is going to work out to your advantage? Yep, the first man says. You've been watching, and we've been waiting. I haven't been watching you, you say. You have, the second man says. Why have I been doing that? You are not keen to get into a yes, you have, no, I haven't type of argument. The clock is ticking. It's what enforce do, the man says. Particularly undercover enforce, a woman says. Me, you say? Enforce? They all nod. And you know what we do to enforce around here? The one-eyed man who is king says. You can hazard a guess. I'm not enforce, you say, and risk a laugh at the ridiculousness of the idea. What are you, though? You could try telling the truth, or you could make something up. Well, I'm supposed to be here to deliver something, so I think the truth will set me free. What are you, then, the woman says. You even smell like enforce. You rise above this heinous insult. I'm a bike courier, you say, with great pride. I'm picking up a package from Imagination Industries. You point at the logo tagged on the wall with one hand and hold out your key card with the other. There is a contemplative silence and followed by a merry round of applause. You smile and they smile. We liked you better when you were in force, the woman says. Didn't we, Yammer? Maybe it's Yammer who throws the first punch. There's no more time for pleasantries. The last thing you see is the floor of the stage, which still smells of grease paint and sawdust. There is no place for the truth here. You wake up some days later in a makeshift hospital with a ringing in your ears and a pin in your leg. They say you might never courier again, but you refuse to believe that. If you were finished, why would Sorcha and Casino come to visit, bringing the rest of the gang with them? Well, that wasn't the right decision. Let's try making something up this time. They look at you with great expectation. This is no time for the truth. I'm with the McBrides, you say, invoking the name of the notorious crime family working out of a stadium city, who are not to be messed with. The mere mentioning of the name is enough to make the one-eyed man look nervous. You don't want to know what I'm doing? They give this some thought. I reckon you're right about that, the woman says. There are various murmurs of agreement and a vague air of disappointment. We'll let you get on, Two Eyes says. You don't wait for a written invitation and nip off. Stage left. You clamber past some old stage sets and piles of rusted car parts. It looks like a bomb went off in here and smells like no one's got round to searching for bodies yet. You head through the set of double doors daubed with the Imagination Industries logo. There is a long corridor with various doorways on either side. You stop at another logo that's been sprayed on the wall. It's between two doors, one for the lead actress and one for the leading man. Someone's scream echoes down the corridor, and you decide not to linger. Do you enter the actress's dressing room or the actor's? Well, this seems like an arbitrary decision that's going to have irreparably significant results, so let's go with actors. The tiny room smells of stale aftershave and stage fright. At least, you think that's what it must be. It smells like an incontinent cow died in an onion field in here. A pile of costumes sits on a chair in the corner of the door to a bathroom. You decide not to venture in there. It's probably contagious. A dressing table is covered with cosmetics and wigs. On a closer inspection, it transpires that one of the wigs is a dead cat. An open briefcase is under the table. It contains 6 empty potato schnapps bottles and a bright yellow envelope. Something has eaten away at the corner of the envelope, probably the schnapps. Will you take the card or leave it, heading into the other dressing room? I think I'll take it. You pick up the envelope as though it might bite you, and it might well. Inside, you find a birthday card with a cross-eyed cat on it. The cat looks so out of it, you wonder if it's been on the schnapps. You put the card and envelope in your bag. There's nothing else here of interest, so you head back to the other dressing room. The leading actress' dressing room is dark, so you flick a switch by the door and the bulbs around the mirror flicker to life. At least 5 of them do. The rest can't be bothered. There are 3 black sacks on the dressing table, but otherwise the room is empty. Someone has put on a lot of bright red lipstick and kissed the mirror. A lot. You hope they are getting the therapeutic support they need. You hear a cough from the bathroom and push the door open. The room is just as empty, but the shower curtain is moving and there's no breeze in the stale room. You open the shower curtain. Do you mind? There's a man in the shower. He's wearing a bright yellow suit and tie, no shoes, and a floral shower cap. A small gray tablet computer sits on his lap, and there is a pile of packages near the plug hole. Pick up, you say. Pack it. Key card, the man says. Idiot. You give the key, and he scans it with his tablet. You are tempted to turn the shower on, but resist. The man reaches forward and gives you a thin square package. You don't recognize the address on it. It's somewhere in the Cathedral Quarter. Any queries or returns? Tough, the man says. Imagination Industries is relocating in 17 minutes. What about those? You point to the packages in the bottom of the shower. If people can't pick them up on time, it's not my problem, the man says. Mind you, if people stand around chatting like you do, I'm not surprised these poor packages are not going to be delivered on time. You must be made of money if you don't need the bonuses. Or maybe you think that you don't hear what you maybe think. You are too busy looking for an exit. You could go back the way you came, or you could climb out of the window and go down the narrow passage behind the theater. Well, let's see. There were some tough thugs the way I came, but they think I'm working with some crime syndicate. As far as I know, I'm only on the ground floor, so climbing out of a window wouldn't be too dangerous, but there could be some random trouble in the alley. Probably someone with a knife. A rusty knife, at that matter. So, in order to avoid getting stabbed in the butt, I'm going to go back the way I came. You head back to the auditorium, your fake association with the McBrides like a cape of Teflon about your shoulders. Yammer and his friends are still standing center stage, discussing something in quiet contentious. It turns out that you are the subject of their discussion. You ain't with the McBrides, a small man says. You're not their type. Too intellectual looking, the woman says. So you're back to being in force, Yammer says. That's bad for you, but good for us. How is that good for you, you say? Because we are having a special offer for Enforce this week, says the small man. Yeah, the other man says, the one who spoke before. You get a free kick with every punch. Alright, you got me. I'm not with the McBrides, but I'm not with Enforce either. Look, you shuffle about your bag and pull out the package and the card. It's my birthday, and my friend is working backstage and asked me to come up and pick up my present. The woman snatches the card. She would have taken the package too, but you were too quick for her. You put it back in your bag before anything happens to it. She looks inside the card and laughs. She passes the card around and they all have a good laugh. What, you say, unable to work out if they are laughing at you or if they were laughing because they are going to kill you. Your name is Flossie, the small man says. That's so sweet. Your parents must have had a sense of humor, Yammer says. He hands you the card. Take this and go with our blessing, Flossie. You have enough problems. You shove the card back in the bag, but you feel your face flushing with shame. Flossie, indeed. With as much dignity as you can muster, you stride off to reunite yourself with your bike and to check in with Yum. With great reluctance, you take the package out of your bag and show it to them. I'm a bike courier, you say. I picked up this package from Imagination Industries. You point at the logo on the wall as further evidence. That is a rubbish cover story, the woman says. Where's your bike? You're about to say that it's in the foyer, but a left hook lands on your jaw and hampers your ability to get the words out. The kick they mentioned as part of their special offer lands in the vicinity of your liver and fells you. You notice as you hit the ground that the smell of grease paint has lingered. You lose consciousness. You wake up some days later in the makeshift hospital with a ringing in your ears and a pin in your leg. Blah de blah, but why do I have options here? Well, I know that clicking on the rest of the gang just takes me to a game over ending. I'm assuming this is some sort of mistake by the gamer creators. So I'm just gonna click check in with Yum. You wheel your bike out into the pale sunlight and call your dispatcher. Yum is as charming as ever, and after a grueling and unhelpful conversation, you work out that you were supposed to meet Sorcha and Casino at the old bank station. It's on the way to the Cathedral Quarter. You wish you'd had something to eat earlier while you were kicking your heels back in the office. Your stomach growls in protest as you contemplate having to get back on the radio and tell Yum you'll be a few minutes late. You try eating and riding, but it slows you down. What time do you call this? Casino says as you pull up beside him and Sorcha at the station. Sorry is all you can say. Sorcha sighs. Never mind, we can catch up. A few minutes makes all the difference in your business. You resolve to do better as your esteemed and disappointed colleagues start discussing routes. Sorcha calls Roach on some kind of watch that she's wearing. It seems to do much more than tell the time, but you're reluctant to stare. Casino has one too. You wish you had one. While they are relaying instructions to Roach, he is to follow Casino until they reach the Riverside sector. You notice a very suspicious-looking man watching the three of you. He is pretending to read a newspaper, but given that the headline is about the 50-degree heat wave last summer, and that it's upside down, you're pretty sure that he isn't. What's up? Sorcha says, looking around. Will you ignore the man, or go and confront him? Well, time is of the essence. I don't feel like getting attacked by someone. They probably can't follow us on foot. I'm gonna go with ignore. Nothing, you say. Some guy staring at us, that's all. Really, she says, and looks worried for a moment. The man is gone. Some weirdo. Forget it, Casino says. Let's go. He prizes back one of the wooden boards sealing off the old station, and you all wheel your bikes in. The abandoned station is cold, and the air feels stale despite the stiff breeze coming up the stalled escalators. There is a huddle of men by the ticket booth. They don't acknowledge you, and you ignore them. There is a clatter of boots as a man with a pickaxe over his shoulder comes up from the platforms below. He turns and shouts for someone to hurry up, and a small boy scampers up behind him and then races ahead. Casino gets on his bike. He looks a little tense. We'll split up if it gets heavy. Sorcha spots your wide-eyed expression. Have you ever ridden down here? Sure, you say, once or twice. You haven't. You haven't even stepped foot in the Riverside sector. This whole job is uncharted territory. You get on your bike and follow Sorcha down the escalator, just managing to stay upright. Casino is behind you. You cycle in single file onto the platform and into an old train that's been left to rust halfway into the tunnel. Sorcha seems very sure of the way, so you concentrate on following her back wheel and not noticing too much of what's going on around you. There are people bundled under dirty blankets and the carriages along with the paraphernalia of substance abuse. The tunnels are less oppressive, and you are surprised to see that some of the rails are still in place. Most have been stolen years ago. You almost ride straight into the back of Sorcha as she brakes, stopping in an abrupt shower of shale and gravel. There's a very, very large man standing in the tunnel up ahead, blocking the way. Fancy seeing you here, he says. Latch, Sorcha says. It's a calm observation. Casino is no longer behind you. You don't remember him leaving. This must be it getting heavy. You are about to think about panicking when this Latch pulls an enforced badge out of his pocket and holds it up. His gloves are shiny and black. Expensive. They are scuffed at the knuckles. Is that a bloodstain on his lapel? Who do we have here? He points at you. You skip thinking about it and start panicking. You can't get around him. You can't turn your bike around and leg it. You can let Sorcha do the talking, or come over all chatty yourself. What will it be? If there's one thing I've learned playing this, it's that I am an idiot, and Sorcha is significantly more experienced and more intelligent than I am, so I should probably let her do whatever talking, especially since she seems to know who this guy is, and presumably, hopefully, how he ticks. Sorcha is gazing at Latch like he's an interesting problem, but not one that she expects to be hard to solve. You close your mouth and let her deal with it. They rattle off their parts of the conversation like a routine they have to go through. New courier, Sorcha says. What are you doing down here, he says. Shortcut. Why? On a delivery. Where to? I don't have to tell you that. I'd like to know. My client wouldn't like me to. I don't care. Are you paying us? And so it goes on, each taking their turn until Latch gets bored and stands aside. You and Sorcha continue down the tunnel. You are relieved to find that it's not much further, and you follow Sorcha up an incline which leads to a platform, which leads to a station, which leads to a street. You feel giddy in the wide open space, like flinging your brake aside and skipping. You don't, though. That wouldn't be cool. That explains it, Sorcha says. What, you say? She points up at the road. Roadblock. Up ahead, there are a lot of green flashing lights. They are on top of the enforced patrol cars that are parked across the road. That explains both why the street is empty and why Latch was going down the tunnel. You supposed aloud. You are correct. Let's split up, Sorcha says. I'll go back down the tunnels. I suggest you go that way or that way. She points to a quiet road to the right and then a dark corner to your left. Well, I still don't trust dark corners, so quiet road it is. The road is quiet. Too quiet. It leads to another road which looks very similar and is also quiet. Too quiet. You've never been to this part of the city before, and because you don't know how you get here above ground, you can't get your bearings. You ride around for a few minutes in the hope that something will look like the right way, that a sign will appear, but nothing presents itself. Maybe you should have got better directions from Sorcha. You decide to cut your losses and go back and take the secret route Sorcha suggested. The secret route, once you've passed through the dark archway, is a long alley with a few doorways on either side that turns to the left at the bottom. There are many of these all over the city, and at once unremarkable and strange, sinister even. You are halfway down when you get the sudden unmistakable sensation of someone following you. You can hear footsteps. They are speeding up. Do you hide in a dark doorway or carry on? I am on a bike. They are on foot. They are running, but hypothetically I should be able to pedal faster. If they're following me, presumably they already know where I am, so they can probably see me. Hiding, therefore, would not get me out of the way. So let's just try and pedal on out. You quicken your pace and almost overcook the corner. At the end of the alley, a fire escape has been pulled down almost to the ground. There is a strange symbol painted in brown paint on the wall. It's the color of old blood. It is a picture of the winged figure, either a fat angel or a chicken with a dress on. It's hard to tell. There is an arrow pointing up and another pointing to a small lane leading off to the right. The lane is dark and the fire escape is crumbling. Will you go up the fire escape or down the narrow lane? It seems to me that it would be harder to escape from the fire escape. At the very least, I would have to abandon my bike if someone follows me up there. So I'm going to go the narrow lane. Well, this is annoying. You ride down the narrow lane, it smells damp and moldy, and squeeze round the corner at the end only to find another fire escape with another sign and arrow, and a smiley face taunting you and the clock that's running down. You go up the fire escape, trying to remain of good cheer. Okay. You sling your bicycle over your shoulder and haul yourself up the fire escape. It is not uncommon for couriers to take unusual routes and around the city, but you've never been in the old underground tunnels or on the rooftops. You've heard that people live on the roofs. Sky people, they're called. People who live nearer the sky than other people. As you reach the top of the stairs, you hope they are friendly. There is a large gap in front of you with a plank of wood forming a very casual bridge across it. You can't help but notice that you are 10 stories up. The roof spreads out in the other direction, and the threats are less obvious that way. So, Courier, do you take the shortcut across the walkway, or head south over the rooftops? Heads the walkway, tails is the rooftops. Looks like I'm going the rooftops. You peer over the edge. There's only one way the plank leads, and that's to certain death. You decide to take the longer route over the sloping rooftop. You ride up a roof and down another. It's quite good fun. You pull a couple of tricks at the top of the next ramp, and then you run out of these short ups and downs, and there is only flat in front of you. You're closer to the main settlement here, and can see tents and stalls over another makeshift bridge. This one's wider and more sturdy. You can go across the bridge, or ride around the chimney stacks with a large tent backed up against it. I'm gonna go for the bridge. The bridge is much more satisfactory than the other one. For a start, it's about 5 meters wider, and you note that it's been anchored to the solid roof with some heavy-duty rivets. Still, it would not do to become complacent, and you give your full focus to the job at hand. You arrive in one piece on the other side, and you cycle on a little. You can go through the gap in the tents ahead of you, or up the slope to your right. Tents probably mean people. People in this world are psychotic, so I will go up the slope. You ride up the slope. It's longer and steeper than it looked, but you manage to get to the top without embarrassing yourself. You see the whole of the Sky People settlement laid out before you, a patchwork of bright material and greenery. When the sounds of the community going about their business float up to you, punctuated by bursts of laughter and music. There's one obvious exit. You ride under the bunting that's strung across a broad street up ahead. You are not sure what the bunting is celebrating. There hasn't been a holiday, and there isn't one coming up. Events like street parties were all banned years ago. The only time people come out as a community is to protest or riot, or to watch a protest or a riot. The flags are all bright and cheerful colors and strung out all down the street from tent to tent. The street winds along. There aren't many people about until you take a bend and see up ahead a large crown blocking the street. They don't seem to be rioting or protesting. They seem to be listening to some music you can just about make out. It's coming over the rooftops. You wish you had time to stop and listen, but bonuses and reputations will not allow. You can squeeze through the crowd or ride through the archway between a mechanic's workshop and a dentist. These Sky People seem decent enough. The archway could just fall on me for no real reason. Honestly, most of the decisions in this seem to be pretty arbitrary. I mean, I would prefer that there could be some sort of logic behind them other than stuff that you could only know once everything is finished. But as that is not the case, I'm just going to have to pick one, so I'm going to go through the crowd. Hopefully they don't murder me. It would be easier to get through these people if they either got out of the way or at least stood still. You get off your bike as they dance around you and wheel it through. You don't blame them for dancing. The music that must be coming from just behind that building is fantastic. It takes a lot of willpower to get on your bike and ride off. A couple of turns and you come out on the eastern edge of the settlement. You are sorry to leave the rooftops. As well as great food and music, even the people seem friendly. The view is breathtaking. You can see far across the city, the dirty gray mess of water inundating the city to the south. The project poking way up into the clouds to the east, and the rest of it smeared across the landscape, a sprawling, livid mass of humanity and struggle. It's quite humbling in a way. There's no time for this quiet contemplation, though. You put your bike back over your shoulder and bound down the fire escape. You can see down the street below. You've a clear view all the way to the end, where Sorcha is waiting for you. She spots you and waves. It's in a nonchalant way, rather than a hurry up, where the hell have you been kind of way. She is much more relaxed than Casino. All right, she says. Great, you say. It's amazing up there. You forget to pretend you've seen it all before. Got the t-shirt. Before she can say anything, there is a sudden burst of enforced siren behind you. You almost jump out of your skin. Don't move, a man says. What can we do for you, Sorcha says, with a lazy grin that doesn't seem at all appropriate for the situation. You are terrified of enforce. Routine, a woman with blue eyes and a head full of dark curls says. Nothing to worry about. She is very tall and imposing. You decide not to mess with her. This is Vermina and Tixelix. Those are some weird names. Sorcha says, Enforce's finest. Vermina snorts as Tixelix tries very hard not to look pleased and fails. Where are you going, he says to you. Do you speak up or leave it to Sorcha? Well, considering I have no idea where I'm going and Sorcha worked out so well last time, I'll go with Sorcha again. You figure that Sorcha can handle it. She is the expert after all. Delivery, Sorcha says. You know very well you can't ask anything, say anything, or do anything about it. This seems a bit bold, given that Veronica looks like she could snap both of you in half without fluttering an eyelash. Not that she looks like she flutters her eyelashes, or anything else. She's getting you all confused, and she's not even looking at you. You stare at the ground. She's right, Vermina says to Tixelix. What can we do? She doesn't seem at all bothered. This your new partner, Tixelix says, pointing at you. It doesn't really work like that, Sorcha says. Poor Casino, Tixelix says with a sneer. Sorcha sighs. Can we go? She asks Vermina. Yes, see you later, Vermina says. I'll be a bit later than I said. You decide not to ask what that meant. You ride on behind Sorcha. Brace yourself, Sorcha says. What for? Yum will call any second now with a change of address for you. That one is fake. There's no such place. You don't mind at all. Maybe it will be somewhere you've heard of. You ride on for about a quarter of a mile before your radio sputters to life. It is Yum with the new address. That's in the Cathedral Quarter, Sorcha says. If you get a gondola, they will drop you off the edge. You can find the house from there. You are in the middle of an affirmative nod when up ahead a cacophony of sirens arrive and another roadblock is assembled at remarkable speed. There must be something going on, Sorcha says. Perhaps we should stay out of sight. I'll check in with Roach. You make your way to the drop-off. Do you know the way? You nod. You know how to get to the gondola, at least. That's a start. Will you go via Mercenaries Row, the fastest route, or the longer way and avoid the enforced cameras? Well, I don't think cameras are a particularly big deal. They already seem to know everything anyway. Or at least, they know enough to get anywhere and set a roadblock immediately. So, I'll just go the fast way. It's maybe a mile or two to the gondola stop, so you opt for the fastest route. You bomb down Mercenaries Row. The traffic is quite heavy, but there's only 2 lanes, each in one direction, so it's easy to negotiate. Mercenaries Row is so called because that's where all the financial institutions had their offices. Now they are all shut up with private security staff sitting at desks in marble hallways waiting for people to come and claim the contents of their safes. Most of the buildings are falling down now, so in a few decades, those safes will be all that's left, lying in a big hole along with the rubble. You stop at the end of the road and get a fresh water bottle out of your bag. As you shift things around, you feel the package. It feels different. When you pull it out, it looks different. When did that happen? The only time they could have been switched was when you were talking to the Enforce officers. But who would have switched them? The Invisible Man? You are very puzzled. Will you open it, or put it back and forget about it? It's probably a terrible idea to open someone else's mail. There could be a literal bomb inside of there. There could be a scorpion, or some other sort of poisonous animal that will then kill me. Well, actually, scorpions are technically venomous. Regardless of that, though, I'm going to put it back, and hopefully I don't get killed. There is a sacred courier code that says you must never open the package, even if a rival courier or enforce or an evil taxi driver on the make has your fingers in a meat slicer. You never, ever open it. Ever. It would be better to die. What would Sorcha think of you? And Casino? You check to make sure that the package isn't lighter because something has fallen out. It's all intact, so you return it to your bag and keep going to the gondola stop. You ride along the street, which twists labyrinthine toward the waterfront. You take a quieter route to dodge the congestion caused by a street market, cycling through a rundown part of the ruined bandstand in the middle. You become aware of another cyclist trying to keep up with you. There's a very skinny man on a shiny red bike behind you. He looks like he is made out of bits of old string tied together. Wait, he says. I'm on the clock, you say. You want to work for Swift, he says? We've been following your progress, like your style. He's quite puffed out. He's riding a very nice bike, though. It's much better than yours. Never heard of them, you say. You have. Everyone has. They're Packet's main rivals. They have more money, bigger contracts, but they aren't as cool as Packet. They are a little bit dirty, cheap even. You like my bike, he says? You want one? You shrug and take a corner at speed. When he catches up, he offers you a job at Swift. And do you just laugh? or ask how much money. I'm on the job, and considering what I've learned about Sorcha being the main character of some other series to which this is related, that means that staying with Packet gives me association to the main character status. So I think I'm going to stick with that. Laughter. Ha ha ha. You laugh long and loud. There's no way you're going to leave Packet. You're almost mates with Sorcha, their best rider. You're on a triple-headed double rush job with security detail. You are living the high life. You are not about to screw that up. This guy is an idiot, and his shiny red bicycle is starting to irritate you. He can't even keep up. Will you offer to race him, or just ride off and concentrate on making your delivery? I'm definitely going to just make my delivery, because a race is a terrible idea. You do not have time to deal with Swift and their stupid shenanigans. You tell the man where he can go, and with an injured look, he goes there. You arrive at the gondola stop. It's an upturned bucket with an oar sticking in it. Nothing fancy. You only wait a minute, if that, for the first gondola. He greets you with a polite wave. He is wearing a three-piece suit, a straw boater, and a pair of very shiny brogues. His gondola is just as well turned out. It looks brand new. This is most unexpected. Take this gondola or wait for the next one. Stuff looks new. And normally I would say that that's inviting, but in this hellhole of a city, that's mildly disconcerting. On the other hand, I don't want to wait too long. So, do I go with the guy who might try to kidnap me and then sell my organs so that way he can buy some fancy stuff and have this new boat and whatnot? Or do I just continue my job? Honestly, I'm not sure. But I think that this has been going on for a little while now, and I'll probably pick it up later. If you have any suggestions about which decision I should make, leave them down in the comments, and I'm definitely getting back to this because I want to know how it ends. And if you want to see more text-based games, or if you know any that you think I should play, leave that down below too, and hopefully I can get to them, because so far I like this. It's like one of those choose-your-own-adventure books, except I don't have to constantly look through for page numbers and whatnot. I guess that'll be all for now, so I'll see you.